Isaiah.
Oh, I'm on Proverbs, y'all. Isaiah 11:2. Where? And the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and of the fear of the Lord.
And we know from a practical standpoint that we begin with knowledge. We get counsel or advice. This gives us a good understanding and allows us to correctly apply the knowledge that we have, which we call wisdom. And this is the way we can be effective in doing what we need to do. And we have a model here to go by. Let's get the facts. Let's get some counsel and some advice. Let's come up with some plans, ideas, and recommendations. And then let's apply those in a practical way and in the correct way to achieve the results that we want. Thank you, Ms. Turner, for reading that. Now we're at Proverbs, which is what this process is named after, 24 verses 3 and 4. And I'm going to ask Ms. Hines if she would to read that for us.
A house is built by wisdom and becomes strong through good sense. Through knowledge, its rooms are filled with all sorts of precious riches and values.
Okay. Read it once again.
A house is built by wisdom and becomes strong through good sense. Through knowledge, its rooms are filled with all sorts of precious riches and values.
Very good. So we already said that wisdom then is the correct application of knowledge, and we see that in the equation here, listed again. But we have a couple of new entries. We have established. A house is built by wisdom and it is established, what? By knowledge? Mm-hmm. So what does establish mean in this context? What are we talking about? What does establish mean in this context? We're talking about it's made strong.
Fortified.
Okay, it's fortified. It's made strong. And we want what? We want to build a great school. We want it to be what? Strong and fortified. And what? And then with the knowledge, just left one more reading, if you don't mind, of that.
King James first.
Yeah, that's fine.
Through wisdom is an house builded, and by understanding it is established. And by knowledge shall the chambers be filled with all precious and pleasant riches.
So if you want to have what? A very successful school, if you want to have a school that's well financed, if you want to have a school that we have all of the things necessary and the resources we have to what? Have knowledge of how to do that. And so we begin to study what can this school do? What can QEA do? What type of knowledge do we need in order to acquire the resources that we need to be not only successful, but to be established, to be strong, to be successful in the future. We're talking about things such as endowments later on. Endowing the school so they can what? Have a reserve of cash. Cash that what? Accumulates cash. Okay? And because we don't have time to accumulate cash, we're busy working and teaching, right? So we need some capital to be able to do that. And then we look at another translation of this from the Living Bible, the same thing, Proverbs 24, 3 and 4. And if someone had that, it would find that or something very close to that, we can go right on with it. We say we need a wise plan, which is the same as wisdom. We need to use common sense, which is what? Understanding. We need the facts, which is knowledge. And of course, once we do that, then we go out to the leaders of the school. The leader has a responsibility. He must have a wise plan, must use common sense, and must deal with the facts. And we know that any good leader, and we've been taught this before, that what we have to do in order to get the facts, we have to talk to the people who know the facts. Most leaders don't know facts in a detail, in such a way, and with the detail necessary, to be successful. So we have to get the facts from, who do we get the facts from?
The teachers. People that's
From the
doing work.
teachers, from the team members, okay? Yeah, because we have support staff too, so even like in our culinary area in the kitchen, if I want to know what's really going on in the kitchen in the most efficient and effective way for that to run, Should I go back there with the list of mandates and procedures? No, I need to talk to the people who are there. Find out what the facts are. Get some what? Counsel and common sense. Let them develop a plan, a wise plan, and present it. And of course, and then I will take the responsibility for that what? Being executed. But someone else will be accountable for it being executed. The leader will take the responsibility, but someone else will be accountable. Does anybody know the difference between accountability and responsibility? You ever thought about that? Okay. If I'm responsible for something, okay, it means what? That I have to make sure that it occurs. Okay.
Right.
If I'm accountable for something, it means what? It is my duty to see that it occurs. Okay. Responsible, what? I have to be certain that it does occur. Accountable, it is my duty to make it occur. Understand the difference? And let me reverse that. The person would be what? Responsible. The person would be accountable. The leader would be responsible. Okay? The team member would be accountable. Maybe the team leader. But if you talk about a CEO or a leadership level, they would be responsible. Be accountable. Let's make sure we get it right now.
Right.
Okay? Let's move on. We talked about once we recognize the facts, what we're going to do with the facts. We have what? A conglomerate of facts. Multiple facts. So what first thing we have to do is what? Get them in some order.
Right.
Prioritize them. What are we going to do first? You know. The next thing we have to do is what? Is mobilize. Let's get going.
Yes.
This is what we're going to do first. This is what we're going to do second. This is what we're going to do third. But nothing makes any sense or make any difference until we mobilize and begin to do them. And we need to do them in the order of urgency as well as importance. Okay? That's important to remember. A lot of times, you know, we start on things that are maybe more important than something else, but it's not as urgent. So we like to say that if it's ice cream and it's going to melt, let's put it in the freezer first. The meat is more important because it's going to provide more substance and energy for life, right? But it won't thaw out nearly as fast. So let's put the ice cream in the freezer first. It's a little more urgent. Not that ice cream is more important to support life than meat. But we have to understand the difference between urgency and importance. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Is that fairly clear? So we need to build teams. We need to face reality. We need to find facts. What is this, team?
Tachometer.
This is a tachometer. And on a tachometer, RPM stands for what? Revolutions per minute. Okay? This has all in the world to do with positioning. I think one time we talked about the idea of driving a car, a standing shift car. If you put the selector lever in fourth gear and try to take off, what happens to the car? The car stalls, right? The car stalls. It chucks and hiccups and ultimately stalls. If we put the car in first gear and we try to drive from here to New York in first gear, what happens to the car? The car winds out, overheats. The revolutions of the engine are so fast because the lower the gear, the faster the engine turns over. We destroy the car for all practical purposes. We burn up the engine, the car seizes up, and we have nothing. So positioning is important in all things. This mechanical illustration tells us if we start off what? In the wrong position, we're going to either what? Fail immediately, or we're going to go down the road at such a rate that we're going to burn out. And we see burnout in teachers all the time, don't we? We see burnout in administrators. We see hiccups. Teachers don't even get through the first year in the wrong position. They don't even make it through the first quarter sometimes. They start looking for something else. So let me go down and work for roses. So when we see this tachometer, in our case, we're talking about responses to mandates. And a mandate is what? Anything that a leader requires you to do. Okay? That's a mandate. So how many of these mandates can you handle before you hiccup or burn out if you're in the wrong position. So it's important to understand we have a position of the team member, we have a position of the team leader. A team member is a leader servant. A team leader is a servant leader. Okay? Servant leader. Why do we say he's a servant leader or she is a servant leader? Because what?
They're serving their team.
That's right. They serve the team. And the leader servant is what? Because they're serving the leader.
Right.
Okay? And so it's important for everyone to understand and to know the position and what's going on. Over here under the team leader, we see the macro picture, which is what? The big picture. We see the forest.
Right.
Over here under the team member, we see the micro picture, which are the trees. One sees the forest, the other sees the trees. It's important that both be seen. If we don't see both of them, we got problems. Okay? Someone could run into a tree and get a concussion. You need to see the tree. But yet at the same time, someone needs to see the forest to know which direction to go in to get to the tree. See? So we have to have that type of vision at both levels. And each one is equally important. Okay? So when we look at this picture and we begin to see this, then somewhere in there, there's what we call a manager. Okay? What is the difference between a manager and a leader? Talk to me, somebody.
A manager manages the entire operation.
Okay. Let's think of it this way. A leader, they're both in the car, right? A leader decides where the car is going. A manager keeps it on the highway and gets it there. Do you understand? I want to keep this simple so that we can understand. A leader decides the destination. The manager decides the ways and means to get to the destination. Okay? If I'm going to drive from here to Houston, Texas, as a leader, I'm saying we're going to Texas and we need to get there in the next 3 days. We're going to go by automobile. Okay? The manager does the logistics. Okay, we have to fuel up after so many miles. We have to stop and eat. We have to have bathroom breaks, etc., so forth, so on. You manage the operation. Everybody clear?
Yes.
Okay. That's important. These are very important people.
Right.
Okay. So the manager, and we see this operation right in here, where you see that pink arrow, or purple, depending on your eyes. This is where the manager operates, right? To the left of that, we see the micro team member, and to the right, we see what? The team leader. Okay? If you're over here, the manager is over there, or the team leader is over there, that's a dysfunctional position. It just won't work over time. You may get some quick results, temporary, but it's very temporary. Still, if you're there, what? You're still dysfunctional. Okay? Right here is what? Managers being converted into what? Leaders. Replicating themselves and moving up the leadership pipeline. And every time you replicate yourself, that pushes you up what? Another rung on the staircase. Okay? And you're steady moving toward what? A leadership engine, which generates leaders all of the way through.